Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, my guest is the CEO of Green Screen Wizard, Mr. Ken Colby. And we're going to find out about how Green Screen Wizard works and the amazing things that you can do with it. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So can you give us a little background about yourself, Mr. Colby?
Well, I'm basically a nerd. I went to Purdue University and studied electrical engineering. But while I was there, I co-opted with the applied physics lab, and I learned a lot about computers there. And I made an early decision to go into computers rather than electronics, which worked out very well. So, long story short, I had a really strong career in computers, and I did very well in the internet boom. And so I semi-retired and got into photography. And while I was into photography, I eventually started taking portraits of people, and they use these very complicated backgrounds. And I thought, well, green screen's a better idea. So I started using green screening, and then I took millions of backgrounds, and I was going to sell the backgrounds. And my daughter, who's an entrepreneur, said, hey, you should do an ebook. And I thought, hey, that's a good idea. I'll do an ebook and sell my backgrounds. But then I realized it was very expensive at the time to do green screening, because you had to buy Photoshop, which is expensive, and you had to buy the green screen plugin, which was very expensive. So I thought, well, I'm a clever guy. I'll just take a few days off and write this green screen program. And 4 years later, I had the first working version. It's actually a very difficult problem, particularly the hair. And I started to work on this green screen program, and then eventually started to sell it. And I've been enhancing it ever since.
Wow.
So it was about 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Right.
That's amazing, because this program is really unique in the fact that just some of the things that you can do with it. Can we show a clip of some of the things that we can do with it?
Okay. And my favorite thing is the educational uses, putting a student in the situation that he's learning about. You can let your creativity go wild and just do artistic images with Green Screen Wizard. I tend to do a lot of this kind of work.
Can you tell us about the special effects that you use? What's available to the user?
Well, of course, Green Screen Wizard itself is a special effect, and you can replace any background, and you can do what's called a sandwich overlay, where the person not only is in the background or on the background, but in the background. In other words, there's something in front of them and something behind them, and that's really what got green screen going. Wow. And we can also do shadows and silhouettes. So we always had those, but then I realized that why are people buying this product? They're buying it because they want to do fun, clever things that they can't do otherwise, right?
Right.
So I thought, natural, I should add some cool special effects. Plus, I just like doing that kind of coding. So I took my couple favorite things that I like to do by hand in Photoshop and things like that, and I created a special effects group of options. So you can do skin smoothing, you can do texturing, you can do fancier silhouettes where you don't just have a black silhouette, but you actually can have like a woman on a flame background, but her silhouette's in flames. So it looks like, the woman, I call it the woman on fire, which is very popular with models. And then you can also do framing or vignetting, and reflections are also very cool. So you can make a person look like they're standing in the water. So those are the effects I have so far. I'm about to add another one, a sketch effect, to make it look like you've been hand drawn. So it's continually evolving.
Wow. Now tell us about the skin smoothing technology that you have included and the hair. That's amazing. What does it take to write this kind of program and make it so easy to use for people?
Well, the skin smooth is actually my third try at it. What I did is I wrote one version and it didn't work very well, so I wrote a second version, and that did work well, but it was very slow. It used what's called a random number generator, so it would look around the picture and just randomly try something, and if it got better, it would keep, and if it didn't get better, it would go away. So without going into a lot of issues that had, it was very slow was the biggest problem. And also it was, skin color and hair color are very similar. So it would smooth the face, but it also smoothed the lips and the hair. So that was kind of a problem, but it was worth it because most people didn't care about the hair, they didn't care about their face. So it was still okay. And so I moved that algorithm to the iPhone. You can buy the skin smoothing thing on the iPhone. And then I improved it there, and I moved it back to the PC, and PC with its higher resolution didn't quite work. And the big breakthrough came when I realized that faces are smooth and lips and hair are not smooth. So I applied two things. I applied the color of the skin, which, believe it or not, all people's skin are basically the same color. It just gets darker and slightly off. But you'd think they'd be dramatically different. But from a color standpoint, the ratios of the colors are quite similar. It's red, green, and blue. Anyways, I realized that the hair is not smooth, and the lips are not smooth, and the eyes are not smooth. So by eliminating places that weren't smooth and emphasizing places that were smooth, it gets this really nice skin effect, as you'll see in some of these videos. So that's how I did it. Easy.
Easy, sure.
Nothing to it, you can do it.
No, actually, I've used the program and it is so easy to use. You have some great demos that you can actually just follow along on one screen and go back and do it on your own screen and just pause. But it was really easy to use.
Yeah, well, thank you. I try to make it easy. Believe it or not, we have a lot of elementary school kids that use Green Screen Wizard all the time. And of course, that's not saying much because, parents go to elementary school kids all the time for help, but
That's true.
it's still a testament, I think. And I think our program is easy to use. It's like anything else. It's easy to do the easy stuff or the straightforward stuff, but there's a lot of depth to it too. So you can go a long ways with it.
And how did you come up with the multiple layers? How many layers can they do? Just 3 or more?
Well, officially, you have 3 layers. You have a background layer, a foreground layer, and a frame layer. But you can also add images, so the image could be another layer. So theoretically, you can add as many layers as you want.
Wow.
I don't know. I was actually, right after I released the product, I was became quite ill, and I had something called Guillain-Barré's disease, and I was in the hospital for like 6 months. So I had a lot of time in my hands, and it just came to me one night that, gee, not only can I put the person on the photo, I can actually put him in the photo. And I didn't quite have enough, while I was in the hospital, I didn't have quite enough energy to code all that. But the same time while I was in the hospital, I was watching a demonstration of these people that cut out silhouettes, on paper. Mm-hmm. And I thought, hey, we could do that. Just wherever they are, we'll make them black, and everything else will be white, and then can make these cool silhouette photos. So that actually came to me too while I was in the hospital.
Wow. So it wasn't a complete waste of time.
No, it wasn't a complete waste of time.
Awesome. So what do you have to go through to learn coding to do a program like this?
Well, I tell people learning to code is like learning to type, you know. It makes you a good typist, but doesn't make you an author. So really, you have to have an interest of some sort, I think. And my interest has always been photography and art and science. So like I say, I'm a geek. I had chemistry sets as a kid. I went to science fairs. I'm a geek, and I made a lot of people very rich, which was annoying to me because they didn't return the favor, although the last guy did, which was nice.
Oh, was the last guy? You have a fitness center named after you.
Yeah, what happened was I walked into this company and there was boxes everywhere. There was a small office. There was a guy behind the desk with his kid running around, and he is offering me a job. And I'm thinking, well, I was self-employed at the time, which, and he said, well, we'd like you to come consult with us. I said, well, what the heck, they're going to pay me American dollars. I'll come. But I thought this place is not going to last, a week. And 3 years later, or 4 years later, I think they sold it for $2 billion. That was the internet. Now I didn't get $2 billion, but I did okay. And I was able to do a nice contribution to Purdue through something called a charitable remainder trust. And because of that, they named a fitness center after me. And I went and I told them they probably should have named a pizza after me. It would have been more appropriate, but
That's great.
Actually, let me tell you this quick side story because I think it's funny.
Okay.
When I was at Purdue, and this is a true story, we had this thing like the Purdue magazine, that comes out for the student magazine. And then in the back, there was this article about this woman who donated tons of money to her alma mater with the stipulation it could only be used for fun. And I thought,
It only be used for fun?
Could only be used for fun. They couldn't use the funds for books or anything else, only fun. So I thought, wow, if I ever have a chance, I'll donate it and I'll make the same stipulation. So I said, I want it to be for fun. So they did the fitness center.
That is fantastic. Well, it's healthy and fun.
Yeah, healthy and fun. And I used the COREC a lot when I was a kid, a student there. It was what I thought was fantastic, but you should see it now. It's just unbelievable what they give these kids now.
Really? Oh,
if you ever go to Purdue, you have to visit.
Where is it located?
Purdue University, West Lafayette, Indiana.
Oh, nice. So it's right on the university grounds?
Yeah, it's right in the center of campus.
Good for you.
Not actually, it's to the side of campus, but yeah.
Wow. One question I had on the green screen, do they have to pick a certain color green for the background, or can it be any green?
It has to be, the short answer is any green. The long answer is it's better if it's a lime green than an aqua green, which means it has more red in it than blue. So aqua green has a lot of blue in it, and it'll work, but not as well.
Okay.
And because we remove the green until it turns red, if it's aqua green, you got to remove a lot more green. It's the technical thing.
Wow.
And the other question I get a lot is why green rather than blue? And the short answer there is that people just look at you have on blue, right? I mean, people tend to wear blue. They don't tend to wear bowling shirt green,
That's true. Except St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, exactly. I never thought about that, but usually it's a problem with sports teams, which tend to, and bowling teams literally, that like to wear blue jerseys.
Wow. And with the event photography, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because it's such a great program for fundraising.
Well, yeah. What event photography is, with green screen wizard, remember we talked about it's easy to use, right? Well, if it's easy to use, it's usually not super efficient. So what you do in regular green screen wizard, you load a foreground, you load a background, you click print, you select your output, and you print and your printer, and it prints. So it's pretty straightforward, but it's many steps, okay?
Right.
So when you have people standing in line, you don't want to wait for that. And so what I did is I created a streamlined approach to where you set up your printer beforehand, you select your output size beforehand, and image size beforehand. Now all you have to do is put some images in a folder and then just click next, 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 and it'll just go through that folder one at a time. And we do have a lot of people that use it for charities, and occasionally we even donate. We had one kid who, I didn't realize this, but he had a diabetic dog, or maybe it was a seizure dog. Anyways, this dog, whatever medical condition he had, this dog warned him that it was coming on. And so they were doing a fundraiser to buy him a dog. So I thought, hey, that's worthwhile.
Absolutely.
A free copy to go raise some money to buy a dog. So every now and then I will. But hey, not free, we do.
Right.
My kids need shoes, so I do have to pay for this stuff.
No, that's great that you help out the community too, though. But you've included some amazing technology in here. The effects, the skin smoothing. I love the fairy photo, of course.
Well, yeah. Well, I thought since you're the fairy tale lady, I would do show you how to do a fairy photo. And of course, you can do much more elaborate fairy photos. I just wanted to do one that was simple.
Oh, it came out great. And you make it so easy to, when you look at your videos, it looks so easy to use. And typically when you're working on programs, you're constantly, especially with editing, you're constantly looking for how to do something. But you've lined it up so that I could literally go in when I tried it and I could follow it, and I was able to do it in the same night in less than an hour. For me, that is amazing. The first time I edited a half-hour show, it took me like 70 hours. So,
Well, I've been in the business a long time, and I'm not, I don't want to say I'm a stupid guy. I'm not, but I was a B student in high school. I wasn't like, the valedictorian or anything. So my father was a woodworker and built pipe organs of all things using his woodworking skills. So I tend to have a very simple approach to things. And I often say that I'm sort of a mediocre conscious guy, but I have a brilliant subconscious. When I sleep, I just come up with these ideas. So there you go.
That's amazing. So what kind of advice do you have for young people that are going into the coding field?
Well, the coding field's gotten a lot more difficult for two reasons. One, there's so many more people in it. When I joined, when I got into computers, they didn't even know what it was, right? I mean, I say I work on computers and I write programs, and people would give you a blank stare because, quite frankly, a lot of people never even seen a computer when I first started working on them, big mainframes.
Wow.
But now, every high school kid's a programmer. So, but I guess it goes back. If I had to give advice, it would go back to my first comment about learning to program is like learning to type. You have to have life experiences and some passion that you pour into it, whatever it is. If you like big data, if you like sport fishing, then you should probably write a sport fishing program. So it's the same stuff you would give to an author, really.
So parents shouldn't get too nervous when their children go to college and then change their major?
No, I think, essentially I did, but I do think you should have some focus. Are you going to be a technical guy? Are you going to be study French literature? But no, I think having a variety of things in your life is a good thing, particularly if you're a creative type. And if you're not a creative type, then there's plenty of programming jobs that are basically turn the crank jobs too. But I think everybody should learn to program a little bit, at least a web page. A web page to me is now like typing. It's like basic. And then if you should learn C# or C or Java or one of the more advanced languages if you want to really program. Of course, I'm a dinosaur now. I program everything in C++, and most kids now do everything on the web, and that's the way the whole world is moving towards the web. You know, the iPhones changed the world literally. Now people don't want big programs on the PC as much as they want them on the web, but there's not as much money for programmers on the web. So now rather than writing one program, you write 50 and sell
Wow.
them all $1. So I'm gonna probably start moving in that direction now that the Wizard is so mature, and start doing more and more web and iPhone based stuff.
That's great. And it really works well. And you just came up with version 9?
Yes, version 9's improved. Well, it has a new skin smoothing algorithm in it. It has, you can do it. Before you could do everything in Green Screen Wizard except find the original photo. You had to, it didn't really have a way to do that. So I used to use an external program that would let you sort through the photos easily. So basically we had this thing called Compare Photos, and it allows you to make a bunch of thumbnails and go through it. So now with Green Screen Wizard, you can do everything except shoot. I mean, it just lets you sort through the photos, and you pick the photo, you size it, you crop it, you do whatever. And when you're all done green screening it, you can edit it and fix the skin, and it's a fantastic tool, particularly for portrait photographers, because that's what I do a lot of is portrait photography. I like to shoot people, and people like you who are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You're one of my favorite guests now. Love compliments, but I just loved the whole program. It was amazing. It was astounding how a wisp of hair that just looks all fuzzy when you take a picture against green screen, that you could smooth it out and it looked back to normal. It's really magical.
Well, thanks. Yeah, that's the hair is difficult because it's thin, and the other problem particularly with hair like yours is that
It's all curly.
any shadow on the screen looks the same as hair, so it's very difficult to distinguish between the two. But I use the same trick that I use here. I'm giving you all my trade secrets here, but I use the same trick that I use for skin smoothing, and that hair tends to not be smooth, whereas shadows are smooth. So I emphasize removing smooth things over non-smooth things. So that leaves the little hairs in and takes the big shadows out.
Wow.
Like magic.
It is like magic. That's amazing. So have we missed anything that our viewers should know? Oh, another great aspect is that you give automatic updates for people who buy the professional.
Well, we're a small company, and so rather than having, it's a maintenance problem to have, lots of versions out there, because when people call them with a bug, the first thing you tell them was, well, then upgrade to the latest software. Well, you can't do that if they have to upgrade and pay $50 to do it.
Right.
So rather than, keeping 30 programs around, well, in our case, it'd be actually more than 9 because we had sub-releases in between that. I just made the decision to just let people have the latest software. Plus, to me, this is a bit of an ego trip, too. I like people liking my software. It's not just business for me at my stage in life.
I suspect it's like writing a book. You really want people to use it or read it.
Right. You want them to pay for it because you want to make some money, but you don't want people that can't afford it not to pay for it. You'd rather have them read the book. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, and it's amazingly affordable.
Thank you. Yeah. Well,
and it helps that you give them the updates as you go along,
right.
and as you go along and you keep improving the product, it's really great. It's a great investment because we don't have to pay for those updates. That was a really nice offer.
We keep the updates free. If I add a whole new feature, like if I added the special effects, I charge for that. But you don't have to pay any. If I come up with a new version. But most people bought the full version 10 years ago or 8 years ago, and they're still getting free updates for it. So that's the way it is.
That's great. Well, thank you for sharing so much about what you do, Mr. Colby, and all the secrets about green screen.
Well, this was a real joy for me. This was the first. I have never done a one-on-one interview. I've done a couple of phone interviews, but never live. So
Oh, great.
thank you for this opportunity.
Well, hopefully we edit as well as you do. So I hope you enjoy the show. And I know that other people will enjoy looking at your product as much as I do. And you also have a free trial, don't you?
Right. We have free demos of all our software, so you can try it. Yeah, you can just go get a piece of green construction. You know, some schools get a piece of green construction paper, and you can buy green screens on the internet. Go to Amazon.com or eBay, and you can get them for, you know, not very much money.
Oh, that's great. All right.
By the way, it works best with studio lighting, but you can take it outside and pin it up on your wall, and the wall outside. And I've taken really nice photos that way.
Wow.
You know,
And they
you
can
should-
take photos of any background too, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, that's how I got into this really, because I think I had like 54,000 photos I went through to get it down to the ones that I sell.
Wow.
So best of the best photos for backgrounds. And background photos are a little tricky because, for example, if the cool thing in the photo was a fountain and the person stands and totally blocks the fountain, it's not a very interesting background anymore. So you got to imagine the scene with a person in it. So there should be something kind of above them. It helps if it looks like there's a place where they could stand, things like that. Anyways.
That's great. Well, thanks again.
And thank you.
My pleasure. Until next time, keep asking questions. And check out green screen technology. It may be just what you were looking for that special project or fundraiser in your community. We'll see you soon.